Hey everyone, and welcome back to Daily Tuition. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to make this amazing HTML and CSS website really from the scratch. We will learn all the techniques that will help you to make a responsive website. We will start really from the scratch to create this complete website. In this course, I'm going to show you how you can make your website responsive, how you can add advanced grid layout, how you can make these beautiful sections of this website, as well as I'm going to add some animation, CSS particles, and relax scrolling effect. As well as we're going to learn how to make CSS reusable using global classes. There are many new things you're going to learn in this course. So follow me in this amazing journey. And of course, you can join me from any section of this website using Git branches. You can download the project from the link provided in the description. So before taking your too much time, let's get started. So let's get started and see how to make this beautiful website with HTML and CSS. So I'm going to first open the Visual Studio Code, and inside that I'm going to open an empty folder. Inside this empty tutorial folder, I'm going to create a new folder and name it Assets. Inside this Assets, I'm going to put all my images which we are going to use in this tutorial. Just out of that, inside this tutorial, again, I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to name it index.html. This is our main HTML file. Just out of that, I'm going to make another file here and name it main.js. This is the JavaScript file. We are using JavaScript to add some functionality to the navigation menu. Just out of that, in the root folder, I'm going to create another file and I'm going to name it style.css. This is the main style sheet of this project. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to link both these files to this index.html. So here I'm going to first add the exclamation mark and press enter. This is going to create a simple HTML5 snippet. Just after that, I'm going to specify a title to this website, which is digital marketing. That's upon you. You can specify any title to this website. Now, once we have that, let's link the style.css. So here I'm going to first create a comment by pressing Ctrl// that will create a simple comment syntax inside Visual Studio Code editor. And here I'm going to specify style sheet. And then I'm going to link my style.css file here. Just out of that, just down here, I'm going to add another comment and specify here scripts. Just down here before the closing body section, I'm going to link all my JavaScript files. So here I'm going to add script tag with the source attribute and I'm going to link my main.js file here. Now, just out of that, I'm going to just create here the header section of this website. So I'm going to simply put here a comment and just add here the header section just like this. This indicates the opening header section of this website. Then I'm going to copy this and paste it down here to indicate this is the closing header section of this website. And these comments help us to maintain the website more easily. Now once we have this comment, inside this, I'm going to add header section. So I'm going to add here a tag called header and press tab. When I press tab, I'm going to have a header tag here. To this header tag, I'm going to specify some classes. First, I'm going to specify container, fluid, and then inside this header, just for now, I'm going to put h1 heading tag with the text navigation menu. Let me save these changes and execute this file in the browser. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the extension called live server to execute this HTML file in the browser. So let me just right click on this index.html file and open this with live server. If you don't have this option, just click on the extension tab of your VS Code and search for the live server VS Code extension. Search for it, open it and install in your VS Code. I already have this extension. This extension allows us to launch a development local server with a live reload feature for the static and dynamic pages. So whenever you make any changes inside your index.html file, you will get the live result. So once you install the live server, just back to the Explorer tab and in the index.html file, just right click here and click on this open with live server. That will open your browser and open the index.html file in the live server. So whenever you make any changes to your code, when you save it, and you will get the live reload feature to your website. Now, once you have your header, let me just put some images inside this asset folder. So you will get your starter file. So let me just put some images inside this asset folder. So I'm going to copy all the images which we are using in this tutorial and paste it inside the tutorial folder inside a asset folder. Just like this. Back to the VS Code, and when I open the asset folder, you can see I'm going to have all my images here. Now you're ready to get started from this section. What you have to do is you have to download the starter file from the link provided in the description and start coding along with me. So we'll understand how to make this beautiful website. So just click on the link provided in the description and download the starter file. So let me initialize this project. So I'm going to open a terminal and here I'm going to say git init. This is going to initialize this project as git repository. And now you can see I'm in the master branch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push all the code inside the master branch. So I'm going to say here git add and specify here dot to put all these files inside the master branch. Now once I have that, I'm going to commit it. So I'm going to say here git commit -m and then I'm going to say here starter file. I'm going to press enter and now I'm going to have all these files inside this master branch. And now you have to download this file from the link provided in the description and follow along with me to build your first dream project. I'm going to open this style.css file and here we're going to add all the custom styling for the website. What we are going to do is I'm going to first add here a comment by pressing Ctrl/. This is going to create a simple comment syntax in CSS. Here I'm going to add some dash and then specify here variables. Now this indicate this is the starting point of the variable sections inside the styling. Now once you've done that, here I'm going to add a root selector. So I'm going to pass here colon and say here root. As you all know, root selector allows us to create variables. CSS variables allows us to store values inside the identifier. So what we are going to do is I'm going to create here different variables and store values inside it. So we can use it throughout this tutorial. Here I'm going to first add text colors. I'm going to create here a variable. So in CSS, to create a variable, you start with a double dash. Then you specify the name of your variable. So for example, if I specify the name for this variable gray and then specify value by specifying colon. So I'm going to pass here colon and specify the value for this gray variable, or you can say gray identifier. So here I'm going to specify hex value inside this identifier. I'm going to add hash and specify 808291. So this is the hex color I'm going to specify to this identifier. So now whenever I want to use this color, I don't need to copy this color and specify that inside a CSS class. Instead, I can easily use this variable. Now what we need to do is to easily access this variable and to identify this variable use, we are simply going to add a prefix to this variable. So I'm going to add here text-gray. So this is the prefix for this variable. This is one of the best practice when you create a variable in CSS. Text is a prefix for this gray color. Now once I have my gray color, let me create one more color here. So I'm going to say here text, the prefix, and then specify the color name, which is white. And then I'm going to specify hex value here and specify the white color, just like this. So this is the white color I'm going to specify to this variable. So whenever I want to specify white color to the HTML element, I can easily use this variable. So let me just copy and paste some variables here. Instead of wasting your time, I'm going to copy and paste some variables here. So you can notice here we have the light, dark, dark 2, the text red color. Then we have the box shadow variable, and then we specify boxed shadow value to this variable. So whenever we want to specify box shadow, we can easily access this value with this variable. Then I'm going to create some variables, background blue, red, yellow, and purple, and then specify RGB colors here. So this is a very simple way you can create variables in CSS. Now this is all are the colors variable. Now what if you want to specify font family? Let's create a variable for that as well. Just down here I'm going to add a comment and say font family, and here I'm going to create a variable called font poppins. Just for that, here I'm going to specify poppins, specify comma here, and then specify here sans serif, the fallback value of this poppins font family. Now as you know, we don't have this font family inside this project. What we are going to do is we're going to import this font family from the Google font. So let's open your browser and here just search for Google font. When you open it, just click on the fonts.google.com website and search for the Poppins fonts. Here is the Poppins fonts. Just click on it select the regular style, and on the right side of the screen, you will get the import statement. Click on it, copy this import statement, and paste that at the top of your website. Now, you can easily access this font pop-ins inside your project. Make sure you are connected with the internet because we are using the CDN to access this font family. Let me save the changes. Just out of that, I'm going to add some gradient colors to this project. So I'm going to add here a comment and say gradient colors. And to create a gradient colors, here I'm going to first specify a variable name to it, which is bg gradient. We specify gradient color to the backgrounds. So we start with the prefix bg and then specify the name for this gradient, which is gradient. You can specify different names to these gradient colors. That's upon you. Here I'm going to use linear gradient color. So I'm going to say here linear gradient. And inside this linear gradient, I'm going to specify values. So here I'm going to say to right, and then I'm going to specify the gradient colors here, just like this. Now we have the gradient color value inside this variable. Now let me create two more gradient colors here. So I'm going to copy some gradient color and paste that here. So once I have my gradient colors, the time is to create a variables for the images. Now sometimes you want to change the images and specify your own. In that case, you need to search for that image inside your CSS code and replace it with your image. So to save your time and to maintain the CSS, I'm going to create here a variables for the images. So whenever you want to change the images, you can easily change that by using the variable values. So for example, here I'm going to create a variable called background cover. And this is going to be the URL. And inside that, I'm going to specify the path of my image. So I'm going to say here dot /, then specify asset and specify the background img1.png file. Anytime when you feel that you want to change this background image, you can easily change that with this value. Instead of searching for the background property inside the CSS code, you can easily change this value and then you can easily get your image. Now let me create few more variables here. So I'm going to specify here bg img1, then specify image 1, 2 and 3 here. So these are the customizable image. You can easily change the path of this image and specify your own images inside these variables. Now just out of that, at the end, just out of this root selector, let me remove the padding and margin from the box sizing. So here I'm going to select all the descendant elements like this and then specify box sizing border box, and then I'm going to remove all the padding. So padding should be 0 and margin is going to be 0. So I'm going to remove all the padding and margin from all the HTML elements, and then I'm going to specify here anchor tag. And as you know, you will get the border to the anchor tag by default. So I'm going to remove that with text decoration property. I'm going to specify text decoration none. And then I'm going to specify here UL unordered list is going to be list style type none. That's it. This is the simple snippet of style.css file. Now, if you want to follow along with me from this section, you can easily do that by changing the branch of the Git repo. You just have to open your terminal and you have to change your master branch to the CSS variable branch. When you change your branch from master to CSS variables, you will get all this code. To change the branch, you can specify command git checkout and then specify the branch name, which is CSS variables. Once you execute this command, you will exit from the master branch and check in inside the CSS variable branch. And now you can follow along with me from this section as well. Next, we're going to create some global variables inside this style.css file so you can easily style and create our HTML. Now, once we understand how we can easily create these variables inside the CSS, let's move to create a global classes. Now, what is this global classes means? Let me show you a very simple example. Now, let me just back to the index.html, and here you can notice I have the h1 heading tag inside this header. Now, what I only want to specify text color to this h1 heading tag. To specify that text color, I need to select the h1 heading tag by selecting the selectors like header. Then inside that, as you can see, I have the h1 heading tag. So I'm going to select that h1 heading tag and then specify color and then specify my color here. Now the drawback of doing this is when you have your h1 heading tag deep inside your HTML tree. In that case, you have to select all the selectors, or you have to specify the class name or ID to this h1 heading tag and individually select that and specify the text color to it. Now to solve this problem and save your time, we have the global classes. The global classes is very simple. We create a class text color and then we specify the property to it. For example, if I specify here color dark, then if you want to specify dark text color to the h1 heading tag, you simply use this text color class and specify that to this h1 heading tag. That will save you a lot of time. So let's create these global classes inside this style.css file. So I'm going to first copy this command right from here. Now because this is a newer section, I'm going to copy this command, paste it here and say here global classes. Copy this, paste it down here to indicate this is the closing global classes. Now inside this global classes section, here I'm going to first create text dark. Now text indicate this is the property for the text colors. So I'm going to specify here prefix text and then specify the color name, which is dark. So I'm going to say here text dark and specify color text dark. Now as you know, we have all these variables inside this root selector. Let's use all these variables and specify that to these classes. So we can easily specify different colors to the HTML elements. So here I'm going to specify color and then specify the variable name. Now to use these variables, in CSS you have to use a function called var. This function allows you to use CSS variables. So I'm going to say here var, and inside this parenthesis we specify the variable name. As you know, we have the text dark name to this variable. So I'm going to specify that. That's it. So now this class is going to specify this dark color to the HTML element. That's easy, right? Now let's create few more text colors here. So I'm going to copy and paste it here. I'm going to specify here text white. This became text white. Do the same. This became text light. Change this variable as well to text light. Copy these classes, paste it down here. Text is going to be gray. This is also going to be gray. Make sure you change the variable names as well when you change the global class names. Then I'm going to specify here text red. This became text red. Then I'm going to create a global class for the gradient colors. So instead of text here, I'm going to specify bg gradient. And then instead of colors, I'm going to specify here background. Background is going to be var. Inside this, I'm going to specify bg gradient, the variable name. So using this bg gradient class, we can specify this bg gradient background color to the HTML element. Just after that, I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, then specify here bg gradient indigo. Change this bg gradient to bg gradient indigo. Copy this and specify my third gradient color, and this is going to be bg gradient peach, and then copy that and specify that here and change this variable name. Just out of that, I'm going to copy and paste that again. Then I'm going to change this indigo to red, and this is going to become bg red. I'm going to copy this, paste it here, then specify here blue. This became blue. Do the same, change this red to yellow, and this became yellow. Then I'm going to copy this again, paste it here. Yellow became purple. Then change this bg color as well to bg purple. And then I'm going to add here a class called font poppins. This is going to allow us to add font family to the HTML elements. So I'm going to specify here font family, and then call here var function. And as you know, we have the font family variable. So I'm going to specify here font Poppins. Just for that, I'm going to create here text center and specify here a property called text align center. This is going to allows us to center the text. So whenever I want to center this text, I can easily use this text center property. Now what I want to specify font size to the HTML elements using global classes. So I'm going to create here a class called text sm. Sm means small. So I'm going to specify font size 1 em to the sm font size, and line height is going to be 1.5 em. So when I specify text sm to the HTML element, that will going to specify both these CSS classes to the HTML element. Just for that, just down here, I'm going to say text md. Md means medium, and specify font size is going to be 1.5 em. So this class is going to specify 1.5 em font size to the HTML element. Then I'm going to copy this, paste it here, specify text lg, and font size is going to be 2.2 em. Then I'm going to also specify here line height. Line height is going to be 3 rem. Just after that, I'm going to copy and paste the class again. This is Excel, and I'm going to specify here font size is going to be 3 em. At the last, I'm going to specify font size, which is going to be 2XL, and the font size is going to be 5 em. Now, just out of that, just out of this font sizes, just down here, I'm going to specify font bold. This class is going to allows us to specify font width bold. Just out of that, I'm going to specify some flex properties. So if I want to specify display flex to the HTML element, I can easily specify that with this flex global classes. So I'm going to create here a class called flex, and then specify here display flex. Just after that, here I'm going to specify flex row class, and this is going to allows us to specify flex direction row to the HTML element. Then I'm going to do the same for the columns. So I'm going to create a class here flex column and specify flex direction column. Just out of that, just down here, I'm going to create a class called flex wrap to specify a property called flex wrap. Just down here, I'm going to add some flex initial classes. So I'm going to create here a class called flex initial. Now this class is going to allow us to specify different size to the flex item. So here I'm going to specify flex, and then specify here 0, 1, auto. Now these are the flex values. So I'm going to specify 1 here to this flex initial. Just out of that, here I'm going to add flex grow, and then I'm going to specify here flex grow is going to be 1. So when I want to specify wider width to the flex item, I'm going to specify this flex grow property to the flex item. Just out of that, here I'm going to specify justify center property is going to be justify center. Then I'm going to specify here text uppercase. This is going to transform the text to the uppercase. Just out of that, I'm going to specify here container. This is the main global class which we are using throughout this course, because container allows us to specify width to the HTML element. So here I'm going to specify width 100%. Then I'm going to create here container fluid, and then I'm going to specify here width is going to be 98%. Just after that, just down here, I'm going to specify .mx auto. So here I'm going to specify margin left auto and margin right auto. Just out of that, I'm going to add here padding by 2. This will specify padding top 1 rem and padding bottom 1 rem. Just out of that, I'm going to add here padding by 5. So this will add top and bottom padding. So I'm going to add here padding top 1.5 rem and padding bottom 1.5 rem. Just out of that, I'm going to add another padding by class with the value 10. So here I'm going to specify padding top 4.5 4.5 RAM and padding bottom 4.5 RAM. Just after that, I'm going to add here padding X 5. This means I want to add left and right padding. So I'm going to add here padding left 1.5 RAM, and then I'm going to add padding right 1.5 RAM. Just after that, I'm going to add padding X10. This will add left and right padding. So I'm going to add here padding left 3 RAM, 3.5 RAM, and padding right is going to be 3.5 RAM. Just after that, I'm going to create here a global class called link. This class is going to specify color, text dark, and font width is going to be bold. Then I'm going to create hover effect. So I'm going to add here dot link hover and specify here color, text red. When I specify link class to the HTML element, I'm also going to create the hover effect on that element. Just down here, I'm going to create a class called btn for buttons, and then I'm going to specify the basic styling for the buttons. As you know, you will get a border with the HTML buttons. So I'm going to remove that border. So I'm going to specify here border none. Then I'm going to specify background color, which is going to be transparent, and cursor is going to be pointer. Just after that, I'm going to create my primary button here. So I'm going to say here dot btn primary. Just after that, here I'm going to specify some padding to it. Padding is going to be 0.8 RAM to the top and bottom and 2 RAM to the left and right. Then I'm going to add border radius 50 pixel, and font family is going to be font Poppins. Then I'm going to add font width bold. So this is the primary button of this website. Just after that, here I'm going to create btn shadow class. This is going to allow us to specify box shadow to the element. So I'm going to add here box shadow and call a variable called box shadow. As you know, we already have this variable inside the variable section. Just after that, here I'm going to add btn primary and then create hover effect on it. When I hover on the button, I want to create hover effect on it. So I'm going to change the background when I hover on the button. So I'm going to add background and specify here bg gradient indigo. So I'm going to just change the background color when I hover on my buttons. Just after that, I'm going to add here bg cover, then specify background. Background is going to be bg cover. So this is my image variable. Inside this variable, we have the path of my image. I'm going to specify that to this bg cover class. Just after that, I'm going to say here object fit. Just down here, I'm going to say the inline and then specify display inline block, and then I'm going to create the block is going to be display block. So both these classes allows us to specify display block and inline block display property to the HTML element. Just after that, I'm going to create a very important class called grade. This is going to specify display grade to the HTML element. Then I'm going to create here one column of the grade. So I'm going to create here calls 1. This is going to create one column grade. So here I'm going to create a class calls 1 and then specify CSS property grade template columns. Using this property, we're going to specify how many columns we want inside the CSS grid. So we simply specify here repeat function to repeat the columns, and then I'm going to specify here 1. I want one column, and then I'm going to specify here a function called min max. This is going to specify minimum and maximum value to the column. The minimum width is 0 and the maximum width of the column is 1 fr, 1 fraction, or you can say the equal width of all the columns. 1 fr means the equal width for all the columns. Just for that, down here I'm going to add w100. This is going to specify width 100% to the element. Just down here I'm going to add w50. This is going to specify width 50%. Just save the file, and now we're done with this global classes. So now we have all our global classes which we are using throughout this tutorial. These global classes save our lot of time because we are reusing all these classes multiple times. So now if you want to follow along with me after this global section, just open your terminal and just say git checkout global classes. This command is going to allows you to follow along with me after the global section of this website. Now once we have the variables and the global styling for this website, let's move to the index.html and create the navigation menu. As you know, we already have this section of this navigation menu. Let's complete it. So let me just toggle this window on the right side. Let's create this navigation menu. Let me open my finished website first. Now let's create this beautiful navigation menu. So I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code, and here instead of this h1 heading tag, here I'm going to add a nav tag. Nav with the ID nav. This is going to create a navigation tag with the ID nav. Just out of that, I'm going to specify some classes to it. Classes is going to be flex and font poppins. Now as you can see, we are using the global classes here. We already have this flex and this font poppins inside our global classes right here. You can notice if you search for the font poppins, you'll get your global classes of font poppins and the flex. So we just created all these classes to save our time. So I'm going to just specify display flex to this navigation menu and specify font family poppins. Inside this nav, here I'm going to first specify my first flex item. So I'm going to say here now brand. Inside this div, I'm going to add an anchor tag and specify class to it, which is text dark. This global class is going to specify text dark color to this digital text. Here you can see I'm going to have this digital text here. Just after that, I'm going to create the second flex item. So I'm going to say here toggle btn. I'm going to create a div with toggle btn class, and then I'm going to add here a button. Inside this button, I'm going to specify my icon. So let me first specify class to it, which is btn. Now we already have this btn global class inside the style.css. The btn global class is going to remove border and background color from this button element. Inside this button, I'm going to add an icon. Now as you know, we need to import icons, so I'm using Bootstrap icons to include icons inside this project. So I'm going to search for here Bootstrap icons. I'm using this Bootstrap icons to add icons inside this project. So I'm going to simply type here Bootstrap icon cdn, click on this cdnjs.com. Then I'm going to copy this minified version of this CSS and paste that in the header of this website right up here, just like this. Save this file back to the Bootstrap icons, and now if you want to use any icon from this section, just select your icon and use this code. This code is going to allow you to import icons from the Bootstrap icons. So now what we are going to do is inside this button, here I'm going to add an I tag with the class name bi filter right. Save this file, and you can see I'm going to have this little icon here. When I specify font size to this icon, it will increase the size of it. Just for now, let's leave it as it is. And just after this second flex item, just down here, I'm going to add another flex item with the class collapse. And to this collapse, I'm also going to add flex grow. As I said, we are using all the global classes of this CSS file. So we're using this flex grow class from the global classes. We specify that here and then create here UL tag with the flex class. You can see how easy it is to use the same property again and again. You can notice inside this header, we use flex more than once. So global classes save our lot of time. So now once you specify flex class to the UL, here I'm going to add li tags. Inside the li, we add anchor tags. To the anchor tags, we specify class link. As you know, we have this global class link inside this style.css. So I'm going to specify that here, and I'm going to say here home. Copy this li tag, paste it here. This time the home became about. Copy and paste that again. This time this became services. Copy and paste it again. This became work, and paste it again at the last time, and this became contact. Save these changes, and here I'm going to have what I want. Just out of that, just out of this division tag right down here, I'm going to add flex initial. Now this is also a global class we have inside this global section. I'm using that, and inside this I'm going to add again the UL tag with the class flex, and inside this I'm going to add a button. To this button I'm going to specify text start a project. Save this file, and now you will have your button on the right side of this screen. Once I specify text to this button, let me add some classes to it. I'm going to specify class and say here btn. This will specify basic styling to this button. You can notice when I say the changes, I'm going to have basic styling to this button. Then if I change and specify here btn primary, save this file, you can see that is going to specify primary button color to this button. Just out of that, I'm going to specify gradient color to it, bg gradient. Save this file, and I'm going to have the gradient color to this button. Then I'm going to add a text color to it. So text is going to be white, and text is going to be uppercase. Let me save this file. You can see I'm going to have the button what I want using just a global classes. Now I also want to add some shadow to it. So to this button I'm going to add a class called btn shadow. Save this file, and that will add some shadow to this button. Now we need to add some custom styling to this navigation menu, so we can create the navigation menu. Something looks like this. So what we are going to do is I'm going to back to the style.css, and at the bottom right down here I'm going to just copy this comment, paste it just down here, and get rid of this text. And this time I'm going to specify here navigation. Copy this command and paste it down here. This indicate this is the closing navigation menu styling. Now let's style this navigation menu inside this navigation style section. So I'm going to first select the nav bar. So to select that, I have an ID called nav. I'm going to select that and then specify here position, which is absolute. Then I'm going to specify top is going to be 0 and left is going to be 0. Just out of that, I'm going to specify width to it. Width is going to be 100%. Then I'm going to specify padding 1 rem to the top and bottom and 1.5 rem to the left and right. Then I'm going to add some background color to it. So I'm going to add here background text light. I'm going to add here a variable called text light. This will add some light color to this background. Then I'm going to add here flex direction column. Let me save the changes, and now you can see I'm going to have the result something like this. I'm going to make this navigation first for the mobile and then for the desktop. So let me just inspect it and open it in the mobile devices. So I'm going to first develop this navigation menu for the mobile, and then we'll move to the desktop viewport. So now once I specify the navigation menu styling, just down here, I'm going to select the nav brand and select the anchor tag of it. As you know, we have this nav brand inside the nav ID. So I'm going to select the nav ID, then select the nav brand and select the anchor tag. I want to specify font size to rem, and font width is going to be bold. Now let me do the same thing with the global classes. As you can see, to specify font size to this nav brand, you have to select the nav, then select the nav brand and then select the anchor tag. And just for two CSS properties, you write the whole line of code. So to save your time, you have the global classes, right? So instead of this code, let me comment it, save this file back to the index.html, I have here a nav brand section. To this anchor tag, I can simply add here text LG and font bold global classes. When I save the changes, I'm going to have the result what I want. That's easy, right? Now let me back to the style.css and get rid of this code. Just for that, I'm going to select the collapse class. So I'm going to say here collapse, and we have this collapse inside the navigation menu. So I'm going to select the ID nav, and inside that we have this collapse. I'm going to select this collapse class. To this collapse, I'm going to specify max height 0 pixel. Save this file. Then I'm going to specify overflow y is going to be hidden. This is going to hide all the navigation items from this navigation menu. We're going to display all these navigation items when the viewport is greater than the medium size of devices. Just for now, I'm going to select collapse again. So I'm going to copy this selector, paste it down here, and select the UL tags. And to these ULs, I'm going to specify flex direction column, and text align is going to be center, and padding is going to be 0 to the top and bottom, and 3 em to the left and right. Let me save the changes. Just after that, I'm going to copy the UL again, paste it down here, and this time I'm going to select all the li tags, and then I'm going to specify here padding 0 to the top and bottom, and 1.5 rem to the left and right. Line height is going to be 3 rem, and font size is going to be 1.1 em. Just after that, I'm going to select the nav again and select the toggle button, this one. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to specify font size 2 em. This will increase the font size of this icon, and then I'm going to specify position absolute. Right is going to be 0, and top is going to be 0. This will change the position of this icon. Just for that, I'm going to add some padding to it, padding 1 rem, and color is going to be text dark 2. Now, from the small devices, I want to remove this button. So just down here, I'm going to select the selector now, then select the flex initial, then select the UL tag, and inside that I have this button. I'm going to specify display none. I'm going to remove this button from the small devices and display that button on the large devices. So first I'm going to remove that from the small devices, and just after that I'm going to create here an active class. Active is going to be max height 50 viewport height. Now let me explain what is this active class is. This active class is going to allow us to expand the height of this navigation menu when we click on this toggle button. We are going to do that with the help of JavaScript. So let's see how to do it. Now what I want to use this active class when I click on this toggle button. When we click on the toggle button, I want to collapse this navigation menu and show all my navigation items. To do that, we are using JavaScript. We are going to add this active class to the collapse HTML element and override this max height property. So let's see how to do it. I'm going to back to the main.js, and here I'm going to add a command and say execute script after page load. So here I'm going to say window dot onload is equal to function, and here I'm going to say digital fn. Now you can specify any name to this function, that's upon you. And inside this, I'm going to select the toggle button as well as the collapse HTML element. So I'm going to say here toggle button. So I'm going to create here let toggle is equal to, I'm going to create a variable called toggle, and then specify here document dot query selector, and inside this, inside a double quote, we need to select the toggle button. As you know, inside the index.html, we have this toggle button here with the class toggle btn. I'm going to select that in the main file. So here I'm going to say hash nav, and inside that we have the toggle button, just like this. Just after that, I'm going to select collapse is equal to document.querySelector, and inside this double quote, I'm going to select the collapse class, this one. So as you know, we have this collapse class inside the nav menu. So I'm going to say nav and select the collapse. That's easy, right? So now inside these variables, we have the toggle button and the collapse HTML element. Now what I want to create on-click event on this button. So to create that, here I'm going to say toggle dot add event listener. It is a method, and to this method I'm going to pass the event in the single quote. I'm going to say here click. So I'm going to inform the JavaScript to use this toggle button and add the click event to this toggle button and execute a function. So to the second parameter, I'm going to say here function with the event parameter. So I'm going to tell the JavaScript to use the toggle button, add click event on that button, and when the user click on that button, execute this callback function. Inside this callback function, for now, let's print console.log toggle. Save this file and let's check the on-click event is working or not. Open the console tab, click on this toggle button. As you can see, you will get the toggle button HTML element as a result inside your console. So now your on-click event is working fine. Let's comment this. And what I want, when the user click on the toggle button, I want to toggle the active class. I want to add and remove the active class. So the simple way to do is we are going to call here collapse dot class list dot toggle. I'm going to select this collapse class, and then I'm going to add the class list property and call a method of it, which is toggle. When we already have the active class to this collapse, this function is going to remove that active class from that element. And if we don't have active class to this collapse, this function is going to add that class to the element. So this is the use of this toggle function. Inside this, in the single quote, I'm going to add active class. As you know, we already have styling of this active class inside style.css. So using this active class, we are passing max height 50 viewport height to this collapse element. Right now, the value of this max height is 0 pixel. So when we click on this button, I'm going to change the max height to 50 viewport height. Save this file. And now when you click on this button, you will not get anything. Because if you just check the style.css file just down here, using this property, you are overriding this max height property of this collapse class. So when you override the previous property, you have to use important keyword, just like this. Save this file, and now when I click on this button, you can see I'm going to have my nav item here. Now just for that, I want to add some transition to this on-click event. So to do that, I'm going to back to the collapse, and here I'm going to add a property called transition to the all 0.9 second and specify the easing function is. Save this file. Now when I click on this button, you can see I'm going to have this beautiful effect. So now I have the collapse navbar. Now what if I increase the size of this viewport? When I increase the size of this viewport, I'm still going to have the same collapsible navigation menu. I want to solve this problem. When I increase the viewport size, I don't want to add this toggle button. Instead, I want to display my complete navigation menu. When the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel, I want to hide this toggle button and display my whole navigation menu. So to do that, we are using the media query of CSS. So let's see how we can add media queries inside the CSS file and make this navigation menu completely responsive. Now let's understand how we can add media query in this project and make this project completely responsive for all the devices. You can notice this navigation menu is not responsive. Using media query, we're going to make this navigation menu completely responsive for all the devices. So let's add a media query inside the style.css. So at the top, before this navigation styling, right up here, I'm going to add a media query. So I'm going to copy this comment, paste it up here, and this is media query. Copy this, paste it down here to indicate this is the closing media query section. Inside this section, I'm going to add all the media query code. So let me just add a media query inside this project. I'm going to add a comment here and say for large screen SM. Now consider this SM is equal to the viewport 640 pixel. Now whenever I specify SM, I'm going to specify CSS property to the HTML element when the viewport is greater than 640 pixel. And just down here, I'm going to add media, and then in the parenthesis, here I'm going to add min width. The minimum width of the viewport is 640 pixel. So this is our first media query. Anything I add inside this media query is only going to apply when the viewport is greater than 640 pixel. I'm going to copy and paste this comment here, and this is for the medium size of devices. So I'm going to add here MD. This indicates the viewport is equal to 768 pixel. So this MD is equal to 768 pixel. So I'm going to say here 768 pixel. Copy this, paste it down here. Then I'm going to specify here LG means large, and then I'm going to change this to 1024 pixel. Do the same and specify that here inside this condition. I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, and this time I'm going to change this to XL, and the viewport is going to be 1280 pixel. Now if you don't know about this media query, let me show you a very simple example of it. As I said, when the viewport is equal to or greater than 640 pixel, I want to apply all the styling of this media block. So for example, let's say you can notice here at the top, I have here a container. You can notice the width of this container is 100%. Let me add this container inside my index file. So let me just minimize this header. Just down here, I'm going to add a container div. To this container, I'm going to specify bg gradient indigo, and then I'm going to specify here text container. When I save the changes, I'm going to have this container behind this navigation menu. So let me just add a style to it and add margin top 14 RAM like this. Let me add some padding to this container. Just for now, padding y is going to be 5. Save these changes. I already have this padding in the global section. So now you can notice the width of this container is 100%. What I want to change the width of this container according to the viewport. So to do that, we are using media query. So in the style.css, you can notice the width of this container is 100%. So just scroll down, and what I'm going to do is when the viewport is equal to or greater than 640 pixel, I'm going to specify max width 640 pixel. Save this file. You can see when the viewport is greater than 640 pixel, the max width of this container is 640 pixel. When the viewport is greater than or equal to 786 pixel, I'm going to specify max width of this container 786 pixel. You can notice. Then I'm going to copy this container, paste it down here in the media query of 1024 pixel, copy it and specify the max width at 1024 pixel, save this file, and this will increase the width of this container. You can notice. Let me do the same. So copy this, paste it down here and change the max width of this container. Let me save it. Now you can see when I decrease the viewport, the container is going to change its width. When I increase or decrease the viewport. Oops, I think I misspelled the value here. 768 pixel. That's correct. So now you can see the container is going to change its value according to the viewport. So this is how you can use media query in the large HTML project. Now let me use the same technique to create this navigation menu. So what we are going to do is, let me get rid of this container right from here because we are not using it. And then I'm going to back to the style sheet, and inside this 1024 pixel media query, right down here, I'm going to select my toggle button. So I'm going to say here nav toggle button, and inside that we have a button. I'm going to just specify display none to it. Save this file, and now you can notice I don't have this toggle button when the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel. Just out of this nav, right down here I'm going to select the collapse class, and to this collapse I'm going to specify max height is going to be initial, and to override the previous property I'm going to use important keyword here, just like this. Just out of that I'm going to select the collapse UL tag, and to this I'm going to specify flex direction row, and to override the previous property I'm using important keyword here, just like this. That's easy, right? Just out of that I'm going to select the nav like this and specify here flex direction row important. Save the changes, and as you can see I'm going to have the result what I want. So I'm going to apply all these values when the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel. Let me just add here active class, and when the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel, the active class should be max height 100%, and then specify here important keyword. That's it. Let me save the changes, and now when I decrease the viewport, you can see I'm going to have my toggle button, and when I increase the viewport, this is going to remove the toggle button, and I'm going to have all my values. And now what I want, when the viewport is greater than 1280 pixel, I want to make this navigation menu transparent and display my button here. So to do that, inside this 1280 pixel media query, I'm going to simply add my nav and specify background transparent, and then add here important keyword. So now this will remove the background color from this navigation menu. Just out of that I'm going to select the nav again, then select the flex initial, then select the UL tag and a button, and then I'm going to specify here display inline block with the important keyword. Save this file, and as you can see I'm going to have this button here. So now when I decrease the viewport, you can see my navigation menu is now completely responsive. So now this navigation menu is responsive for all the devices. So now once you understand how you can make your navigation menu using media query, next I'm going to show you how you can make this beautiful banner section of this website. So next we'll see how to make this. Now let's get started and see how to make this main section of this website. So let's start with the banner section. So inside my project, as you know, we already have the navigation menu ready for this website. Let's move to the main section. So I'm going to open the index.html file, and here as you can see I have the header section. Let me copy this section comment, paste it down here, and I'm going to change this header section to main section. This indicate this is the starting point of the main section. Now here inside this comment I'm going to create a main tag with the ID site main, and inside this main section I'm going to add all this main content, all this website main content, and I'm going to put this footer outside of this main section. So let's first create this banner section. So inside this main, here I'm going to create a simple comment and specify banner area. Let me copy this, paste it down here to indicate this is the closing banner section. Now inside this banner section I'm going to create a new section and specify some classes to it. So I'm going to specify class banner area. This is my custom class, and then I'm going to specify font Poppins. This is the font family global class. Inside this banner area I'm going to create a division tag, and to this div I'm going to specify some classes. So I'm going to first specify container, then specify MX auto. Now this MX auto global class allows us to center the content, and then I'm going to specify here banner title. Inside this div, here I'm going to add another div with title class, and then inside this title class I'm going to create a span tag. And to the span tag, I'm going to simply specify this text, digital experience. I'm going to specify this text to this span tag. Let me save these changes. Now to this span tag, I'm going to add some classes, the global classes. So I'm going to add here the inline. Then I'm going to add btn primary. Then I'm going to add here bg gradient, page, and then I'm going to add here text is going to be red. That's great. Now just out of that, just out of this span tag, just down here, I'm going to add another div with some classes. So I'm going to add here class padding y2. This will add top and bottom padding. We already have this global class inside my global class section. And then I'm going to add here a custom class branding, then specify text dark. And then I'm going to specify here text LG to specify font size. And then I'm going to specify here SM text XL. And at the end, I'm going to specify font bold. And inside this div, so I'm going to add here padding top. So I'm going to specify padding top and bottom, then add custom class, then specify text dark, add font size LG, and using this SM text XL, I'm going to change the font size when the viewport is greater than 640 pixel. And then I'm going to specify font width bold using this global font bold class. Inside this div here, I'm going to add 3 span tags. So I'm going to add here a span tag with the class D block. And to this D block here, I'm going to add my text. As you know, we have here some text. So I'm going to specify here branding, digital. Then I'm going to duplicate this span tag and change this text. And here I'm going to specify marketing and duplicate this text. And at the end, I'm going to specify here business solutions. Save this file. And just out of that, just out of this div right down here, I'm going to add another div with padding y5. So this will add top and bottom padding to this division tag. And then I'm going to specify here inside this div a paragraph. To this paragraph, I'm going to add text gray. This will change the color of this paragraph. And inside this paragraph, I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to copy some text and specify that here. Let me duplicate this paragraph. And now I'm going to paste some text inside this second paragraph. Save this file, and I'm going to have the result something like this. At the end, just after this division tag right down here, I'm going to add padding y5 class with the division tag, and then I'm going to add here an anchor tag. Inside this anchor tag, I'm going to specify text work together. And to this work together anchor tag, I'm going to add some classes. So let me first add some classes to this work together. So this is a type of button. So I'm going to add here btn, then add btn primary, then add bg gradient. Save the changes. Then I'm going to add here text white, global class, and at the end, I'm going to add here btn shadow to add background shadow to this button. Now, just out of that, let me add some custom styling to this banner area. So to add styling, just back to the style.css, scroll down at the bottom. Here I'm going to add styling to this banner area. So let me just copy this command, paste it down here, change this styling, and here I'm going to change. This is for banner area style. So I'm going to copy this, paste it down here to indicate this is the closing banner area section. So first we select the site main, then we select the banner area, and inside this banner area here I'm going to specify width 100%. Then I'm going to add position, relative, and background is going to be the image. So here I'm going to add an image. So as you know, we already have a variable bg cover. I'm going to specify that here. You can notice I'm going to have this bg cover variable here. So this will add an image to the background of this section. Just out of that, here I'm going to add background repeat, which is no repeat, or you can just add here no repeat. Both are identical. Just out of that, I'm going to add here background position X is going to be right. I'm going to move this image to the right side of this screen like this. And at the end, I'm going to specify Z index is going to be -99. That's it. Now let me open this website on the large device like this. And now I want to add some padding to this section, as well as I want to add some height to this banner area. So inside this section right down here, I'm going to first select the site main, then select the banner area, and then I'm going to select the banner title, this division tag. And to this div, I'm going to specify first height, which is going to be 95 viewport height, and then I'm going to specify padding top, which is going to be 16 rem. That will add top padding to this banner area section. As you can see, we have the different font size to both these titles. This is because if you just check the index.html, then you can notice here I'm using here text LG and text SMXL class. As I said earlier, I'm using this text LG font size when the viewport is less than the small size of devices. And after that, I'm going to apply this SM text XL class. So what we need to do is we need to create this SM prefix text XL class inside the small media query. Let me copy this, open the style CSS, and as you know, at the top you have your SM breakpoint media query. Here you need to create this class like this with the font size 3em. That's great. Let me save the changes. Now you can see you have the 3em font size to your title. Now if you decrease the viewport, the title is going to change its font size. You can notice it's automatically changed the font size when the viewport is less than 640 pixel. So now we successfully created the banner area section. Later in this course, I'm going to show you how you can add these particles behind this banner area. But just for now, let's move to the next section where we're going to create this agency section. So let's see how to create this. Now let's see how to create this beautiful agency area section of this website. Let me back to my website, open the Visual Studio Code, and inside this index.html, I'm going to show you how you can make this beautiful agency area section. So let's minimize this banner area, copy this comment, paste it just down here to indicate this is the agency area, just like this. This indicates this is the closing agency area. So I'm going to create here a section tag with the class agency area, and inside this section here I'm going to create a division tag with the container class, as well as I'm going to add here mx auto class. As you know, I'm using this mx auto to center this container. Just out of that, here I'm going to say text center to center the text, and I'm using here font poppins class to specify font family. Then here I'm going to add a span tag with some text. So I'm going to specify text here, join our agency. I'm going to have this text just down here. To this span tag, I'm going to specify class text red. Save this, and here I'm going to have the red text. Just out of that, just out of this span, I'm going to create a div with the class area title. This is my custom class. Inside it, I'm going to add h1 heading tag, and I'm going to add some classes to it. Text LG. This is going to specify font size LG to this h1 heading tag. Then I'm going to specify text dark. This will specify dark color to this h1 heading tag. And inside this h1, so I'm going to copy and paste some text here. Let me save the changes. And as you can see, I'm going to have the title here, just down here. Just out of that, just out of this division tag right down here, I'm going to create a grid system. I'm going to create 3 columns using CSS grid. So here I'm going to add a division tag with the class called grid. As you know, we already have this grid class inside the global classes. So I'm not going to create this again. To this grid, I'm going to specify a class called calls 1. Now let me show you this class. Inside the style.css, if I search for grade, then you can find both these classes. We have the grade, display grade, and calls is equal to grade template columns, and I'm going to have one column of equal width. So now I'm going to create that. So just down here, I'm going to create grade items. So I'm going to add here division tag with the class grade item. Let me first show you how the grade work. So let me add here bg gradient and column name call 1. Copy this, paste it down here like this. Let me change this column 1 to column 2, and this became column 3. Let me save this, and now you can notice on the single row I have 3 columns. This is because I have here calls 1. This is going to specify equal width column on every row. Now what I want to create 3 column grade. I want to create 3 columns on a single row. In that case, I'm going to add a class called lg calls 3. Now, as you know, I don't have this class in my global section. So let me create that. This class means I want to create 3 columns when the viewport is greater than lg, means the large devices. That is why I use here prefix lg and then specify call 3. I want to create 3 columns after the large devices. Save this file, back to the style.css. Here I'm going to just back to the large media query, this one, and inside this, just down here, I'm going to add dot lg calls 3. I'm going to add this class, and as you know, I want 3 columns. So I'm going to say here grade template columns, repeat 3 columns, mean max, and I'm going to specify here 0 and 1 fr. So this class is going to create 3 columns when the viewport is equal to 1024 pixel or greater than that. When I save the changes, you can see right down here I have 3 columns. And now if I decrease the viewport, just take a closer look at these grade columns. When I decrease the viewport, you can see now when the viewport is less than 1024 pixel, I have 1 column. And when the viewport is greater than that, I'm going to have 3 columns. So this is how you can make your layout completely responsive with media query. That's easy, right? Now let me add some top and bottom padding to this section to show you the result clearly. So inside this style sheet, just down here, I'm going to copy this comment, paste it just down here like this, and this is the agents area. Copy this, paste it down here, and this indicate this is the closing agents area. This area is in the site main. So I'm going to select the site main first and then select agency area. So here I'm going to specify padding 5 em to the top and bottom and 0 for the left and right. Save the changes. When I scroll down, you can see I'm going to have some padding to the top and to the bottom of this agency area. And now when the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel, I want 3 columns, and when the viewport is less than that, I want only 1 column. When I decrease the viewport, you can notice when the viewport is less than 1024 pixel, I only have 1 column, and when the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel, I'm going to have 3 columns. Now what I'm going to do is, inside these columns, I'm going to add this icon, the title, and the description. So inside this index.html, in the first column, right here, I'm going to simply add a division tag with the class text center, and inside this div, I'm going to add an icon. As you know, to add an icon, you need an I tag with some Bootstrap icon classes. So I'm going to specify here bi bricks. That will add an icon inside this project. You can notice. Now to change the size of this icon, you can simply specify text to Excel and text red global classes. And now let me just get rid of this bg gradient because we are not using it. Just out of that, just out of this div, here I'm going to add text center class again, and inside it I'm going to add h4 heading tag with the text grow your business, and then I'm going to add here a class text md. This is going to specify font size to this h4 heading tag and add padding by 2. That will add top and bottom padding to this title, just like this. After this h4, here I'm going to add a paragraph with some classes. So I'm going to add here class text gray, and inside this paragraph I'm going to add some lorem demo text. So I'm going to add here lorem 15. When I press tab, I'm going to have demo words from the lorem website. Save this file, and now I'm going to have the result what I want. Now just after that, I'm going to add some padding to this grid item. So to this grid call 3, here I'm going to add padding by 10. This is my global class, right? That will add some padding to the top and bottom section. Just after that, as you know, I'm going to copy this grid item right from here, specify that here, change this icon. I'm going to change this icon to BI megaphone like this, and I'm going to change this grow your business to digital marketing. Let me save this. I'm going to have the result something like this. Just out of that, I'm going to copy this division tag and paste that here. Again, I'm going to change this icon to mouse, and this text is going to become search engine optimization. Save this file. Now as you can see, I'm going to have the result something like this. Now what we need to add some padding to the left and to the right section of this grid item. So I'm going to add here padding x 5. Save the changes, and this will add left and right padding to this grid item. Do the same for all these grid items, just like this. Save this file, and you can see I'm going to have the results something like this. So this is how you can easily create the agency section of this website. Next, I'm going to show you how you can make this beautiful grid layout of these images and add this beautiful digital life area of this website. Now, this is one of my favorite section of this website, where we're going to create this beautiful grid layout and add a blur effect to the background images and create 2-column layout and make this column completely responsive. So let me show you how you can make this beautiful section of this website. I'm going to back to the unfinished website, and I'm going to open my index.html. Minimize this agency area, copy this comment and specify that just down here to indicate this is the area of live section, or you can say digital live area. So inside this comment, I'm going to add a section with container and MX auto class. As I said, MX auto allows us to center this container, and to this section I'm going to add a class called live area. This is my custom class. Just for that, as I said, here I'm going to create 2 columns. In the first column, I'm going to add grid images, and in the second column, I'm going to add this title, paragraph and button. So to do that, here I'm going to create division tag with grid class, and then I'm going to add here calls 1 and LG calls 3. As I said, when the viewport is greater than large devices, I'm going to add 3 columns, and when the viewport is less than large devices, I'm going to add 1 column. But as I said, I'm going to create 2 columns in this section. So instead of LG calls 3, I'm going to add here LG calls 2. Let me save these changes, and now back to the style.css and open the large media query, this one. Inside this, we have the LG calls 3. Now let's create one more class here for LG call 2, and this time I'm going to make repeat 2. So this is going to create 2-column grid layout when the viewport is greater than large devices, or you can say when the viewport is greater than 1024 pixel. Save this file, back to the index.html, and to this grid here I'm going to add text center to center the text, and then I'm going to add here MD text left. Now let me explain both these classes. What I'm going to do is, when the viewport is greater than medium size of devices, I'm going to just align all the text to the left side. And if the viewport is less than that, I'm going to align the text to the center of the document. So we already have this text center global class inside the style.css. We need to make this md text left class. So copy it back to the style.css and open the media query of md breakpoint. Inside this, I'm going to paste this class like this and then specify text align left, just like this. Save the changes, back to the index.html, and inside this div, here I'm going to create grid images. Inside this div, here I'm going to create 3 division tag and specify here class item 1. Duplicate this 2 times. This became item 2 and this became item 3. Now I'm going to specify images to all these division tags. So as you can see, this is my first column. So just down here, I'm going to add a division tag with a class padding by 10. This will add top and bottom padding to this division tag. Inside this, as you can see, I'm going to have this digital experience area span tag. You can notice I already have this digital experience span tag inside the banner area. So instead of creating this, I'm going to copy that and paste that here, just like this. Digital experience. So I'm going to create a span tag with D inline, btn, btn primary, bg gradient page, text red, and then I'm going to specify text to it, digital experience. Let me save the changes. As you can see, just down here, I'm going to have this digital experience. Then I'm going to create here a division tag with font Poppins class. And inside this, I'm going to add h1 heading tag with some classes. So I'm going to add a text LG. This will add font size to this h1 heading tag. And then I'm going to specify text dark and padding by 5. This will add top and bottom padding to this h1 heading tag. To this h1, I'm going to specify some text. So I'm going to copy and paste some text here, just like this. Save this file. Here you can see I'm going to have the text. Just out of that, just out of this h1, I'm going to add here a paragraph with some classes. So I'm going to add padding by 5 and text gray. Just out of that, here I'm going to say lorem 15, press tab. This will add 15 demo words inside this paragraph. Save this file, and this is going to add 15 demo words inside this paragraph. Just out of that, I'm going to add another paragraph here with the same classes, which is text gray and padding by 5. But inside this paragraph, I'm going to add 50 demo words. So I'm going to add here lorem 50. When I press tab, this is going to add 50 demo words inside my paragraph, just like this. And as you can see, I'm going to have the demo words here. And just down here, just out of this paragraph, at the end, I'm going to add padding by 5 and an anchor tag. To this anchor tag, I'm going to specify class btn, btn primary, bg gradient, btn shadow, and text white. And to this anchor tag, I'm going to specify text more about us. Let me save the changes. As you can see, I'm going to have this button here. And now let's make this first column of this section. So let me just minimize this second column and let's move to the first column. So what we are going to do is we're going to create this first column using CSS. So I'm going to back to the style.css, just scroll down. I'm going to copy this agency area styling, paste it down here, and this is the digital live area styling. So I'm going to copy it, paste it down here, and close this digital area section, just like this. Now inside this digital live styling, right down here, I'm going to style this digital live area. I'm going to select the site main, then I'm going to select the live area, and then I'm going to select the grid. To this grid, I'm going to add some column gap. As you can see, I have here a grid class, and I'm going to add some gap between the first and the second column. So to do that, I'm using here column gap CSS property and then specify here 10 em. This will add some gap between both these columns. Just for that, I'm going to use grid images. So I'm going to select this site main and the live area section, and then I'm going to select grid images, this custom class, and here I'm going to specify display grid, and then I'm going to create grid template columns. Here I'm going to say repeat. I'm going to create 16 columns with min max 10 pixel, means the minimum width of the column is 10 pixel and maximum is 1 fr, 1 fraction. Just for that, I'm going to create grid template rows. So here I'm going to say repeat. I'm going to create 8 rows with minimum and maximum value is going to be 100 pixel for the minimum and 1 fr for the maximum. Now you have to visualize this grid system. Inside this grid, we have 16 columns and 8 rows. Now we're going to select first the site main, and inside that we have item 1, or you can select this grid images as well. So to this item 1, to this first division tag, I'm going to specify size. Let me specify background color to this item 1 to visualize the grid more easily. I'm going to specify grid column start property. I'm going to specify where I want to start this division tag, from the first column, and then I'm going to specify where I want to end this grid column. So I'm going to say here grid column end. I want to end this division tag at 8 column. I'm going to start it from first and end it at 8. When I save the changes, you can see the item 1 starts from the first column and end at 8 column. Then I'm going to specify height to it using grid row start. I'm going to start this column from the second row, and grid row end is going to be 5. I'm going to end this column at 5th row. Save the changes, and as you can see, I'm going to have the result something like this. Just for that, instead of this background color, I'm going to specify here background image. So I'm going to add here background and then specify where bg image 1. Then I'm going to specify no repeat. Background size is going to be cover. Now when I save the changes, I'm going to have the background image here. Just for that, I'm going to specify border radius 8 pixel and filter blur 1 pixel. Save this file, and I'm going to have the result something like this. Now just for that, let me just specify background image to the second column. So I'm going to copy and paste the selector again, and this time I'm going to select item 2. So I'm going to select the second division tag, this one. So now here I'm going to do the same thing. Let me copy all these CSS properties, paste it here. Then I'm going to start this second div from the 9th column and end it at 16 column. And I'm going to start this div from the first row and end it at 4th row. Just for that, I'm going to change this variable to bg image 2 and leave everything as it is. Save this file. As you can see, I'm going to have the result something like this. Now just for that, let me do the same for the 3rd column. Copy this, paste it down here, and this time I'm going to select item 3. Now you have to closely look at this item 3 because it's more important to understand how I create this 3rd column. So what I'm going to do is I'm using here grid area CSS property to create this 3rd column. Here I'm going to specify where I want to start this column. I want to start this column from the 3rd row and end it at 4th row. Then I'm going to specify width to it. I'm going to start this from the 8th column and end it at 14th column. So these are the rows and these are the columns. If you wanted to know more about this grid area, let me know in the comment section. I will make a dedicated video on it. So just for now, let's copy this CSS properties, paste it down here. This time the bg image is going to be 3 and everything goes the same. Instead of this filter blur, remove this filter blur. Save this file. As you can see, I'm going to have the result something like this. Now you have to specify z-index property to this image. So just specify here z-index 99. Save the changes, and as you can see, you're going to have this image in front. Next, I'm going to show you how you can make this count area of this website. Now to create this beautiful counting area of this website, I'm going to create 2 columns, and in the first column, I'm going to add a title, paragraph, and in the second column, we are going to add this beautiful counting numbers. So let's add this beautiful section inside our website. So I'm going to back to the index.html and minimize this digital life area. Just out of this digital life area, just down here, I'm going to copy and paste this comment and say here counting area. Copy this, paste it down here to indicate this is the starting of counting area. Then I'm going to create here a section tag with the class container and mx auto to center the container, as well as I'm going to add a custom class called counting area. Inside this section here, I'm going to add a grid with 2 columns. So I'm going to first specify calls 1 because I want to make this grid completely responsive. So for the small devices, I want only 1 column, and I'm going to specify LG calls 2. This will make this grid completely responsive. So for the large devices, I want 2 columns, and from the small devices, I want only 1 column. Inside this div, here I'm going to add grid 1 class, and this is my custom class, and then I'm going to specify here text center, md text left. Now here inside this division tag, right down here, I'm going to add a span tag. I'm going to grab this digital experience from the top section and paste that here. So I'm going to have this digital experience button inside this first column. Just out of this span tag, here I'm going to add font Poppins, and inside it, I'm going to add h1 heading tag with some classes, text LG, text dark, and padding 5. So this will add top and bottom padding. And inside this, I'm going to add my text, just like this. Save this file, and this is going to add my text here inside my first column. Then I'm going to create a paragraph just out of this h1 heading tag. Here I'm going to add a paragraph with some classes. So I'm going to specify class text gray, mx is going to be auto, and md mx initial. Later I'm going to create this class inside md breakpoint media query. Just for now, let's put some text inside this paragraph. I'm going to put 40 lorem words inside this paragraph. Save this file, and as you can see, I'm going to have the result just out of this paragraph, just out of this div, second div right down here, just out of this div, I'm going to create here grade 2. This is my custom class, right? And inside this grade 2, I'm going to create another div with the class count box. And inside this count box, I'm going to create a grid layout. So I'm going to say here grid, then specify here LG calls 2. Now just out of that, to this div, here I'm going to add btn shadow. This will add background shadow, and then I'm going to specify font Poppins. And inside this div, here I'm going to add grid items. So as you can see, in the finished website, I have here 2 columns. So using this grid, I'm going to create 2 columns. And in the first column, I have this 21 plus total top services. So let's create that here. I'm going to say here item 1. Don't forget to add here text center to center the text. And in this div, I'm going to add h1 heading tag and say 21 plus. Specify class to it, which is text dark and text XL. This will specify font size to this h1 heading tag. Then I'm going to add here a span tag with class name text gray and specify here total top services. Let me save this back to my unfinished website, and here you can notice I'm going to have this first grid item. Let me copy this, paste it here. This is the item 2. This became 29 plus, and this became 29 plus countries. Duplicate this. I'm going to copy and paste it again. Change this to 21% and countries became positive feedback. Duplicate it, copy and paste that again. Just down here. This is the item 4. This became item 3. This is going to be 3798 and these countries became usual users. Let me save this and I'm going to have the result something like this. Now I want to specify my custom styling to this section. So very first I'm going to add some top and bottom padding to this section. So I'm going to open this style.css and just down here, let me copy this div, paste it down here to indicate this is the counting area styling. Copy this, paste it down here and close this counting area section. So this indicates this is the closing counting area. I'm going to select site main, then select counting area. And to this class, I'm going to specify padding 7 em to the top and bottom and 0 for the left and right. So this will add top and bottom padding to this section. And just out of that, here I'm going to select counting area. So I'm going to copy this selector, paste it down here, then select grade 1 and the paragraph, this paragraph, right? And to this paragraph, I'm going to specify width 80%. Now, because we have here MD/MX initial to this paragraph, I'm going to have this paragraph at the center of this column. So to solve this problem, I'm going to back to the style CSS and open the MD media query. So I'm going to open the MD media query, specify that here like this, and here I'm going to specify margin initial. Save the changes, and as you can see, I'm going to have the result what I want. Just out of that, I'm going to back to the style sheet, scroll down. I'm going to select the counting area just like this, and then select the count box. And to this count box, I'm going to specify display flex, and justify content is going to be center, and margin is going to be 2 em to the top and bottom and 0 for the left and right. So this will add display flex to this count box division tag. Just out of that, just down here, I'm going to select this count box again. This time I'm going to select the inner grid, and to this inner grid I'm going to specify display inline grid. Then I'm going to specify grid gap 2 pixel and border radius 20 pixel, and background color is going to be text light. Let me save these changes, and as you can see, I'm going to have the result something like this. And now what I want, I'm going to select the count box and grid again, and then I'm going to select all the descendant division tags of this grid and specify background color white. Padding is going to be 2 em to the top and bottom and 2.5 em to the left and right, and text align is going to be center. Let me save this file, and as you can see, I'm going to have the result what I want. Now if you want, you can add background shadow to this section. So you can just simply specify box shadow to this grid division tag. So I'm going to just specify here box shadow variable. Save this file. When I scroll down, I'm going to have the result what I want. So that's easy, right, to create this beautiful counting section of this website. Next, I'm going to show you how you can make this beautiful card section of this website. Now let's take a look at how to make this beautiful card area of this website. So I'm going to back to my unfinished website, and just down here I'm going to create this card area. So I'm going to back to the index.html, minimize this counting area, copy this command, paste it down here and change this counting area to card area, just like this. And here I'm going to create a new section with the class container and mx auto. Along with that, I'm going to add a custom class which is card area, as well as I'm going to add padding y 10. Just for that, inside this container I'm going to create 3 column grid layout. So I'm going to create here grid, then I'm going to specify here calls 1. This will add 1 column on small device, and for the large device I want 3 columns. So I'm going to specify lg calls 3. Font family is going to be font poppins. Just for that, here I'm going to create grid items. So I'm going to say here div with bg gradient class. So I'm going to add here bg gradient pitch. I'm going to specify some padding x to it. Padding x is going to be 10. This will add a left and right padding, and padding y is going to be 10. So this will add top and bottom padding. Inside this, I'm going to add a span tag and then specify here some classes. I'm going to specify d block, text is going to be red, and text size is going to be XL. And inside this span, I'm going to add an icon. So I'm going to add I tag here with the class bi bootstrap icons bi app indicator. Save this file, scroll down. Here I'm going to have this icon. Now as you can see, I'm going to have this gradient color to this column. Just out of this span tag, I'm going to add here h2 heading tag and specify here mobile app text. Along with that, I'm going to add some classes to it, which is going to be text dark. Save the changes. I'm going to have this text here, and then I'm going to add a paragraph with the class name padding y5, and text is going to be gray. And inside this paragraph, I'm going to add some demo text. So I'm going to copy some lorem text here and paste that here. Save the changes, and as you can see, I'm going to have this beautiful card. Now let me just copy this column, paste it just down here. This time I'm going to change this gradient color to gradient blue. As you know, we already have these classes in the global section, so we don't need to create these classes again. And then I'm going to change this icon. I'm going to change this icon to bi light bulb. Save the changes. Here I'm going to have my second grid. Just out of that, I'm going to change this title strategy, just like this. So this is my second grid item. Now let me do the same. So I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, change this bg gradient blue to bg gradient red, and then change this title. I'm going to specify here e-commerce, and I'm going to change this icon. Here I'm going to specify icon phone. Save this file. I'm going to have my third grid. Let me just copy this, paste it down here, change this red to yellow, and then I'm going to change this e-commerce to branding. I'm going to add Apple icon here. Save the changes. Here I'm going to have my fourth card. Let me do the same and create two more cards here. Copy this, paste it down here. This became purple. So I'm going to just specify here text experience design, and I'm going to change this icon and specify here chevron bar expand. Save the changes, and this will going to add this icon with this experience design title. Just for that, at the last, I'm going to copy this div, paste it down here, and this is going to be yellow again with the text mobile app. And then I'm going to change this icon and then specify here building. Save the changes, and here I'm going to have my grid cards. Now let me add some space between all these cards. So to do that, I'm using CSS. So I'm going to simply back to my style.css. Then I'm going to copy this command like this. This is for card area styling. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and close this card styling. And here I'm going to simply specify site main, select the cart area, and select the grid. And using column gap for EM, I'm going to add space between all these columns, just like this. You can notice. And if you want, you can add here row gap and specify 1 EM space. So I'm going to add some space between the row. Let me increase the size of this row gap, save the changes, and now I'm going to have the result something like this. So this will add this beautiful grid card item section in this website. Next, I'm going to show you how you can make this beautiful recent work section of this website. Here we're going to learn how to make this beautiful grid layout with the JavaScript library. So let's see how to make this. Now let's get started and see how to make this beautiful recent work area section of this website. What we're going to do is, just out of this card section, we're going to make this recent work area section. So let's open the index.html file, and up here, just out of this card area, let's add another comment here for recent work. So I'm going to add here recent work area and paste that comment again to indicate this is the closing recent work. Here I'm going to create a section tag with some classes. So I'm going to specify class here, container and mx auto. And just out of that, here I'm going to add padding by 10, add a custom class called recent work area, and inside this section I'm going to add a title class, and inside this div I'm going to add a span tag. Now as you know, I already have this span tag code at the top. I'm going to copy that and paste that inside this title to add digital experience button. Save the changes. This will add a span tag. You can notice just out of that, just out of this span tag, here I'm going to add a div again, and then I'm going to add here font family, font Poppins, and inside this div I'm going to add h1 heading tag with the class text lg and text dark. Along with that, I'm going to add padding by 5, and inside this h1 I'm going to add some text just like this. Save the changes, and this will add the text here. You can notice, and just out of this h1, just out of this division tag right down here, I'm going to add here a div with the class images, flex, and font Poppins. So I'm going to create a div with the class images flex and font Poppins. Images flex is my custom class, and this is my global class. Now here I'm going to create my flex items. So I'm going to say here flex item, and inside this I'm going to add an image, and to the source attribute here I'm going to specify my different images. So I'm going to select the asset folder. Inside that I have a work folder, and I'm going to select the image 1.png. alt is going to be img1. Then I'm going to specify some classes to it, which is going to be with 100. This is going to specify with 100% to this image. Then I'm going to add here h3 heading tag and specify some classes to it. The class is going to be text dark, and text is going to be photo retouching. And at the last, I'm going to add here a small span tag for the categories. So I'm going to add here class text gray and add here category branding. Save the changes, and this is going to add this image inside the flex item. I'm going to copy this div like this, paste it down here. This became image 2, and I'm going to change the title as well, which is going to be Apple iPhone. Copy this div again, paste it down here. This image is became image 3, and the text became yoga. Save the changes, and this is going to add all these 3 images inside my flex item. You can notice. Now to make this grid layout something look like this, I'm going to add a library called MERN inside this project. I hope I pronounced that library name correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for MERN.js and open this website. Here you can notice using this library you can make beautiful grid layouts. We're going to use the script cdn, import that in the project, and use the grid layout to make this section. So I'm going to just search for MERN.js cdn, click on the cdnjs.com. From this website, I'm going to copy the minified version of this library. Open your index.html, and before this main.js, paste your script tag. Save this file, back to the main.js file, and here I'm going to add and initialize this MERN library. So what we are going to do is, just out of this toggle on click event, here I'm going to add MERN.js, and just out of that I'm going to first create here a variable, let grid is equal to document dot query selector, and here I'm going to select the grid division tag. Which one? This image flex class. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to specify that inside this query selector. So I'm going to specify that here. So I'm going to first select the site main, then select the recent work area, and then select the images flex. Now just out of that I'm going to create a variable again monsoonary is equal to, and what you have to do is you have to create an instance of this library. So you just need to start with the new keyword and then specify monsoonary, and in this parenthesis you have to specify your grade item. I'm going to specify the grade variable, comma, and pass some properties to it. So the first property I'm specifying is item selector. Here you need to specify your grade items, or you can say your flex items. So I'm going to just specify this flex item class right here. Make sure you specify dot inside this item selector, because this is going to select this flex item using query selector. Just out of that, I'm going to specify here gutter. Gutter is going to add some space between all the grid items. Just out of that, I'm going to specify fit width is going to be true. This will specify fit width to all the columns. Oops, I think I misspelled something. Yeah, the spelling of this class is masonry. I used to do this type of mistake. So just make sure you specify the exact spelling here, save the changes. And now you can see you have the result something like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few more items here inside this flex item. I'm going to copy this, paste it down here. This became image 4. Recent news, copy this div, paste that down here, change this to image 5, and this became new apps. Copy this div, paste it down here. This became image 6. I'm going to change the title like this. Copy this div again, paste it down here, and this became image 7 with the different text. And at the last, I'm going to copy this div and paste that here. And this time I'm going to change this image to 8. So now I have all my flex item here. At the end, I'm going to copy this, paste it down again, and because I have 9 images, I'm going to add 9 flex item here like this. Now just out of that, you need to specify styling to this section. So back to the style.css, copy this comment, paste that here to indicate this is the starting area of the recent work. And here I'm going to first select the site main, then select the recent work area, and then select images, flex, and then I'm going to select this flex item just like this. And here I'm going to specify width 100%, and margin bottom is going to be 50 pixel. Just out of that, I'm going to select all my images. So I'm going to select this flex item just like this and select all the images and specify border radius 10 pixel. Save the changes. That will specify border radius to all my images, something like this. Now at the end, what you have to do is you need to specify the exact width of this column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back to the flex item class, and here I'm going to specify width 360 pixel. Let me save the changes and reload the browser. As you can see, I'm going to have the result what I want. So this is actually going to create this beautiful grid system using monsoonary library. Next, I'm going to show you how you can make this article section of this website. Now let's take a look at how we can create this beautiful article section of this website. We're going to create 3-column grid layout and put different article inside it. I'm going to back to the Visual Studio Code and open the index.html file. Here let me minimize the section, the previous section, and then I'm going to copy this command and paste it just down here. And this indicate this is the starting point of article section. So I'm going to copy this article area and paste it down here. This indicate this is the starting of article section. So I'm going to say here section, then specify some classes. So I'm going to say here article area, then I'm going to specify container and MX auto. I'm going to add 3 different classes to this division tag. Now just for that, let me add some padding to it. I'm going to add padding Y 10. This will add top and bottom padding to this section. Inside this section, I'm going to create a division tag with the class area title. Along with that, I'm going to add my global classes text center and font poppins, just like this. And inside it, I'm going to add a span tag. And inside the span, specify here a recent article in the span tag. When I say the changes, you can see I'm going to have this our recent article text here. Now, just after that, I'm going to specify here some classes. I'm going to specify some class here. So I'm going to say here text red. Save this file. Now you can see I'm going to have this span tag in the red color. Just after that, just after this span tag, here I'm going to add h1 heading tag and say articles daily update. And to this h1 heading tag, I'm going to specify class text lg, this specify font size, and then specify text dark. This class specify the font color. Just out of that, just out of this division tag right down here, I'm going to create a grid layout. So I'm going to create here a div with the class grid. Just out of that, I'm going to call here a class called calls1, and then on the large device, I want 3 columns. So I'm going to call here lg calls 3. Just out of that, I'm going to specify here my font family, font poppins, and inside this, I'm going to create my cards. So I'm going to say here card. Now inside this card, I'm going to create a new article. So I'm going to call here a tag called article. And to this article, I'm going to specify class btn shadow to add some background shadow to this article. Inside this, I'm going to add an image. So I'm going to specify here an image. So specify here dot / the asset folder. And as you can see inside my project, I have the article folder, and I'm going to specify my first image here. Just out of that, let me specify width to it. So width is going to be 100%. So I'm going to call the global class w100. Just after this image, I'm going to create a division tag again with padding x 5 and padding y 5. So this class is going to specify left and right padding, and this class is going to specify top and bottom padding. So inside this division tag, here I'm going to specify a span tag with some text. So I'm going to specify here category. So I'm going to copy the category 6-hour ago text and specify that inside the span tag. And I'm going to specify class here text gray. Just out of that, just after this span tag, just down here, I'm going to add an anchor tag like this. And inside this, I'm going to add h2 heading tag to specify the heading for this article. So I'm going to copy headings and paste that here. And to this h2 heading tag, I'm going to specify class text dark. Save the changes. Here you can see I'm going to have my first article. Now what I want to add some space to the top and to the bottom. So I'm going to specify here to this grid division tag. Here I'm going to add padding y10. This will add top and bottom padding, just like this. Just out of that, let me minimize this card, copy it, paste it down here, change this image, minimize this card, copy it, and paste it again. And I'm going to change this image. I'm going to specify image 3. So this is going to create 3 cards in my article section. You can notice. Now what I want to add some custom styling to this card section. So I'm going to back to the style.css. Here I'm going to copy this command, paste it down here. Right now I'm working on the card section. So I'm going to say here card area styling, copy it, paste it down here to indicate this is the closing card area styling section. So here I'm going to first select site main and then specify article area. And then I'm going to select my grid. So I'm going to select first this article area class and then select this grid. And I'm going to specify some column gap property 5 em. Oops, I think I have here article area. Yeah, that's right. Save the changes. And now you can see I'm going to have some space between these columns. Now, just out of that, what I want to add border radius to this article. So here I'm going to add site main article area, and then I'm going to specify here card and article. And to this article, we specify border radius 10 pixel. Just like this. Save the changes. Now I'm going to have this border radius to this article. when we specify box shadow to this article, you will see the border radius to this article. I think I specified the btn shadow class to specify box shadow to this article. If I back to the index.html, then you can notice here, I think I specify here btn shadow. This class allows us to specify box shadow to the HTML element, but I think something is missing in the style.css file. Let me copy this class back to the style.css and press Ctrl F, and here I'm going to specify dot btn shadow. When I search for it, you can notice I don't have this class inside my global section. So I think I forgot to add this class in my global section. So let me add that at the top. So in the global section, right up here, just before the closing global section, here I'm going to add a class called btn shadow, and then I'm going to specify here box shadow is going to be var, and inside this I'm going to specify box shadow variable, just like this. When I save the changes, you can see I'm going to have the background shadow to these articles. So that's super easy, right? Now next, let's understand how to make this ready to get started section of this website. Now let's get started and see how to create this beautiful ready to get started area of this website. I'm going to back to my unfinished website. Now inside this Visual Studio Code here, I'm going to open the index.html, minimize this article area, and I'm going to copy this command, paste it just down here, and I'm going to specify here ready area. Copy this command, paste it down here to indicate this is the closing ready area, and here I'm going to specify section ready area, and along with that I'm going to specify container and mx auto. As you know, mx auto allows us to center this container. Just out of that, I'm going to add some padding to it. As you know, we use padding by 10 to specify some top and bottom padding. Now we need here a flex container, so we just simply specify here flex class to create the flex container, and inside this here I'm going to specify some global classes. So I'm going to specify here flex wrap to make this container completely responsive, and then I'm going to specify font pop-ins, the font family, then add some background shadow using btn shadow class, and then I'm going to specify here sm padding x 10. So this class is only apply to this division tag when the viewport is greater than small size of devices. Now let me change this padding by 10 to padding by 5. Just out of that, here inside this div, let me create a division tag again, and I'm going to specify some width to it. So I'm going to specify here div with the class w50. Just out of that, here I'm going to add h1 heading tag and then specify some text to it. So I'm going to simply specify text here, ready to get started, just like this. Save this file. You can see I'm going to have this text here. Now I'm going to specify some classes to it. Class is going to be text lg, then specify here sm text xl. Now you can see how I specify different font size to this h1 heading tag using this statement. Now when the viewport is greater than small size of devices, I want to apply this class, otherwise I want to apply this class. Just out of that, here I'm going to specify text dark. Let me save this. This will add font size and font color to this get ready to started text. Just out of that, just out of this h1 heading tag, right down here I'm going to add a paragraph, but first let me add some class to it. I'm going to specify text gray. Inside this paragraph I'm going to add some lorem text, so let me add some demo text inside this paragraph, just like this. Save this file, and I'm going to have the result something like this. Just out of that, let me add here a button. So just out of this first column right down here, I'm going to create my second column. So let me just specify a custom class to it, which is calls, and here I'm going to add padding by 5. This will add top and bottom padding, and then I'm going to add here an anchor tag. Inside this anchor tag, I'm going to add a small tag with the text get started. And now to this span tag, so here I'm going to specify text uppercase and text sm. Now to this anchor tag, I'm going to specify class btn shadow. Along with that, I'm going to specify text white btn, btn primary. If you remember, these all are my global classes. Just out of that, I'm going to specify here d block and text center, and at the last I'm going to specify here bg gradient. Let me save it. Here you can see I have this button here. Now let me add some padding to this section. So what we're going to do is we're going to back to the style.css and add styling to it. So I'm going to add styling to this section. So let me copy this first comment, paste it just down here, and as you know, this is the ready area. So I'm going to pass here ready, copy this command, paste it down here and close it. Now I'm going to say here site main, then I'm going to select the ready area, and then I'm going to select the flex class, and to this flex I'm going to first specify display flex. Now if you want, you can remove this property because we already have flex initialized with this flex class. Now just out of that, here I'm going to specify justify content space around. This is going to add space between both these columns. You can see I'm going to have space between both these columns, and then I'm going to just align it vertically. So I'm going to say here align items center. So this will vertically center this content. Save this file, scroll down. Here you can notice I'm going to have the result something like this. And now I want to add a top and bottom padding to this section. As I said earlier, I'm using this smpx10 class to specify left and right padding to this section. Now what I only want to specify padding to this section when the viewport is greater than small size of devices. So let's create this class. So I'm going to back to the style.css, and in the small breakpoint, right inside this small breakpoint here, I'm going to create a class called smpx10, and inside this I'm going to specify padding left 3.5 rem and padding right is going to be 3.5 rem. Save the changes, and now I'm only going to have this padding when the viewport is greater than small size of devices. Now let me add top and bottom padding here. So I'm going to back to the index.html, and here I'm going to add padding y 10. This will add top and bottom padding to this section. You can notice. So now you can notice this section is now completely ready. Next, let's understand how we can make this beautiful footer of this website. So now let's take a look at how to create this beautiful footer section for this website. Footer section is one of the most important part of the website. Inside footer, you can add different links to navigate through different web page. Now inside this footer, we're going to create 4 columns. Let's see how to create this beautiful footer and make this footer completely responsive. So let's back to the unfinished website. Let me minimize this ready area. And as you know, this is the footer section. So footer section would be separated from the main section. So I'm going to just create a new section for the footer. I'm going to copy this command, just scroll down, and just out of this closing main, here I'm going to paste that command, and I'm going to say here footer section, just like this. This indicate this is the closing footer section. Now I'm going to separate the footer from the main section. Just out of that, here I'm going to create a footer tag with the ID footer. Inside this footer, I'm going to create a new section. So I'm going to create here a section tag with container and mx auto class. Inside this, here I'm going to create a grid layout. So I'm going to create a division tag with the class grid. Now what I want when the viewport is for small devices, I want only one column. When the viewport is for medium devices, I want 2 columns. And when the viewport is greater than or equal to large devices, I want 4 columns. So to make this complete footer responsive, we need 3 classes. Here, I'm going to add a class called md calls to. This class allows us to make this footer responsive. When the viewport is for medium size of devices, means when the viewport is equal to 768 pixel or greater than that, I'm going to just specify 2 column width to this footer. And when the viewport is greater than that and equal to large size of devices, I want 4 columns. So I'm going to specify here lg calls 4. Now what we need to do is we need to create both these classes inside the media query. So let me just copy this, scroll up inside the style.css. Here you can notice, let me open the large device, this one, and you can notice just down here I have 2 column grid and 3 column grid. Let me create 4 column grid here. I'm going to paste that class just like this, copy this code right from here and paste that here. And this time I'm going to repeat 4 columns. So instead of 3, I'm going to specify here 4. Just out of that, as you can see, I have here MD calls 2. I'm going to create this class inside the MD media query. So when you scroll up, you can see you have MD media query. Here I'm going to create this class and I'm going to copy this code right from here and paste that inside this MD calls 2. Now you can notice here I'm going to create only 2 columns. So I'm going to specify repeat 2 and everything will be the same. Let me save the changes back to the index.html and let me show you the result. Here I'm going to create a class called bg gradient, and inside it I'm going to specify col1. Copy this div, paste it down here. This is column 2, this is column 3, and this is column 4. Let me add some padding here, padding by 10. Save these changes back to the unfinished website, and here you can notice I have 4 columns here. Now when I decrease the viewport, you can notice now I have 2 column layout. You can notice we have 2 column layout here, and when the viewport is less than small devices, I'm going to have 1 column grid layout. So this is the magic of using media query. Now let me add some content inside these columns. So let me first specify here font pop-ins. To specify font family to this section, get rid of this bg gradient, and here I'm going to specify text gray, text center to center the text, and I'm going to specify here md text left. So what I want, when the viewport is for medium size of devices, I want to specify text align left. So let me create this class inside the media query. So inside this media query, I'm going to create this class. You can notice I already have this class, so I don't need to create that again. I'm going to back to the index.html, and inside this column, inside this first column here, I'm going to add a span tag, and inside it I'm going to add a simple address, the demo address, just like this. You can add your own address or anything else. Just out of that, here I'm going to add another span tag, and this time I'm going to specify class to it, which is dblock, and inside this span I'm going to add a simple contact number, and this is also a demo contact number. At the end I'm going to add a span tag and then specify here class text red to make this color red, and then I'm going to specify my email here. So I'm going to specify the email here like this. Now this is also a demo email address. Let me save this. You can see I'm going to have my address section ready. Now just out of that, in the second column right here, I'm going to add about section. So here let me first get rid of this bg gradient, and instead of this I'm going to specify text gray, text center, and md text left. Inside this second column I'm going to specify h3 heading tag and specify here about. And then I'm going to just specify class to it, which is text dark. Save the changes. Here I'm going to have the about section, and just out of this h3 I'm going to create a division tag with the class padding by 5. This will add top and bottom padding, and inside this I'm going to add an anchor tag. So here to this anchor tag I'm going to first specify class dblock, and inside this anchor tag here I'm going to add a span tag like this, and to this span tag I'm going to specify some text, and I'm going to specify class to it, which is going to be text gray like this. And just after that, let me copy this anchor tag, paste it down here, change this text to block, copy and paste the anchor tag again, change this text to portfolio, do the same, change this text to career, and do the same again and change this text. And here I'm going to specify partners. Let me save the changes And here you can notice I'm going to have my links. If you want, you can add hover effect on these links. That's upon you. Now, just out of that, instead of doing the same thing, I'm going to copy this second column, paste it right here instead of this third column, just like this, and change this about to services. And then I'm going to change this about us to e-commerce. Then I'm going to change this blog to branding, portfolio. Oops, I think I misspelled the spelling of portfolio. It's portfolio. Now, instead of this portfolio, here I'm going to specify strategy. Then I'm going to change this careers to design. And here I'm going to specify digital marketing. Now, if you want, you can specify your own links here. That's upon you. Let me save the changes. And now you can see I'm going to have my services section. And now let's create this fourth column. Inside this fourth column here, I'm going to add the h3 heading tag just like this. So I'm going to copy this, paste it just down here. This became newsletter. I'm going to get rid of this BG gradient and specify text gray, text center, and MD text left. After this h3 heading tag, I'm going to add a paragraph here, and inside it I'm going to add some demo text. So I'm going to add some demo text here like this. Save this file. I'm going to have the result something like this. Just after that, here I'm going to add a flex. So I'm going to add division tag here with the class flex. And to this flex, let me add some padding by 5. This will add top and bottom padding. And inside this, I'm going to add an input tag. Input tag of the type text. The class is going to be subscribe btn, or you can say subscribe text. Then I'm going to specify placeholder. Placeholder is going to be enter email address. And after this input text box, I'm going to specify here a button with the text go, and the class is going to be btn go. These are the custom classes, right? Subscribe text and the btn go is the custom classes. We're going to specify custom styling to this section. So let me save the changes. Here I'm going to have the result. Let's back to the style.css and specify custom styling to it. So scroll down, copy this, and now this is the time to style the footer section. So I'm going to say here footer, copy this, paste it down here like this, and then I'm going to specify here footer first. I'm going to select the footer, and to this footer I'm going to specify some border top to it first. So I'm going to specify border top 2 pixel solid, and then specify light color to it. So I'm going to call here var function, and inside that I'm going to specify text light. So this will add top border to this footer section. You can notice here. Just out of that, let me add some margin top to it. Margin top is going to be 8 em. So this is going to add some top margin to this footer. Just out of that, just out of this footer, I'm going to select the grid. So I'm going to first select the footer and then select the grid. And to this grid, I'm going to specify some column gap. Column gap is going to be 3 em. Then I'm going to add some padding to it. So I'm going to add here padding 6 em to the top and bottom and 0 for the left and right. Just out of that, I'm going to specify here border bottom 2 pixel solid, and then call here var function with text light variable, just like this. So this will add bottom border to this footer section. Just out of that, just out of this grid, I'm going to just copy this selector, paste it just down here, and then I'm going to select the input tag with the class subscribe text. You can notice I have this class subscribe text. I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to specify here border none. I'm going to remove the border from the input text box, then specify background color, which is going to be text light. Then I'm going to specify padding to it 1 em to the top, bottom, left and right, and font size is going to be 1 em. Then I'm going to specify color to it, which is text dark, and I'm going to specify font family, font Poppins. That's easy, right? Save this file, and this is going to change the look of this input text box. You can notice. Just for that, what I want to remove the border and outline from this input text box. So to remove this border, let me first select this selector, copy it, paste it down here, and call a pseudo selector focus, and then just remove the border. So just specify border none and outline none. This statement is going to remove the border from this input text box when you focus on it. You can notice. Just after that, I'm going to select this grid again to style the button. So I'm going to select the button, and to the button I have a class called btngo. I'm going to select that, this one, and I'm going to specify here background color, which is going to be text light. Padding is going to be 0 to the top and bottom, and 2 em to the left and right. Just after that, I'm going to specify font family, font Poppins. And here you can notice I'm going to have my button here. Just after that, let me create hover effect on this button. So let me copy this btngo and create hover effect on it. And to this hover effect, here I'm going to specify background color, text dark. And then I'm going to specify color to it, text white. That's it. Let me save the changes. And now you can see my footer is now completely ready. Now this is super easy, right? To create the footer section of this website. At the end, I'm going to add here copyright section. So just down here, just out of this last section, before this closing section tag, right up here, I'm going to create a new div with the class copyrights and with the global class font Poppins, like this. And then I'm going to add here a paragraph and specify class to it, which is text gray, padding by 5, and text center. And inside this paragraph, here I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to paste the text here, save the changes, and I'm going to have my text here. You can notice. That's super easy to create the footer of this website. Next, I'm going to show you how you can add beautiful animation to your website, as well as I'm going to add these particles and this scrolling effect. You can notice how I added this scrolling effect to this grid layout as well as to this cards. Now let's take a look at how you can add this beautiful animation to this website. We added animation to most of the section of this website. You can notice this animation to this website. We added this animation to most of the section of this website. You can notice. So let's see how we can add this animation to this website. So to add animation, you just need to open a new tab and search here animate CSS. And here you can notice you have here a website called animate.style. Just open it, and from here you can add different animation to your website. To add this animation, you can scroll down and see the documentation. You can add this animation with npm, or you can use yarn, or you can use the import statement, or you can use the CDN. There are different ways you can add this animation to your website. We are using CDN, right? So let's copy this link tag and paste it at the top of this website, right here in the header section. Now once we have that, save these changes. Just after that, if you want to use this animation, you have to use this animated class with the effect. So animate bounce is the effect of this class. So let me just add both these classes to my HTML element. So if I add this to my banner section right here, if I add this to this division tag, save the changes, back to my website and reload it, you can see I'm going to have this bounce effect to this title. So what I want to add different effects to this title using this section. You can notice we have different animation we can specify to the HTML element. You can select any animation from this list and specify that to your element. So what we are going to do is, instead of specifying this animation to this division tag, we're going to specify this animation to this span tags. So here I'm going to specify animation. So I'm going to specify animated, and then I'm going to specify animate fade in down. So this is going to add a fading down animation to this span tag. Let me save this. Back to my website, reload it. You can see I'm going to have this fading down animation. Let me do the same. I'm going to copy this and paste that here to both this span tag. Let me save this. I'm going to have the result something like this. Now what I want to change the speed of this animation. You have a class called animate faster, animate fast, and so on. If you just take a look at this documentation, then you can notice when you scroll down, you're going to have these classes: animate fast, animate slow, and so on. You can use these classes to change the speed of the animation. I'm using this class to change the speed of these span tags. So let me just add here to the first span tag. Here I'm going to specify animate faster, and to the second span tag I'm going to specify animate fast, and I'm going to leave the third span tag as it is. Let me save it. You can see how beautiful the animation is. Now let me add animation to the span tag to this first digital experience span tag. So I'm going to copy and paste animation here. So I'm going to add both these classes here. I'm going to add fading up animation to this digital experience. Just after that, I'm going to do the same for this division tag and to this button. So I'm going to have the result something like this. That's super easy, right? To add any animation to your website. Now, just after that, I'm going to add this animation to the recent work area right here. To this recent work, to this flexed item, I'm going to add this animation. So here I'm going to add animate animated and then specify the effect. I'm going to do the same for all these flex items. Just like this. So once you specify all these animations, just save this file, scroll down, and you can notice you're going to have this animation to this recent work area, right? This is going to add fed up animation to this recent work. Just after that, I'm going to just add this animation to this article area. Here, I'm going to specify this animation to this cards. I'm going to specify here animate animated and then specify the effect, which is fade in left. I'm going to specify that to all these cards. Save these changes. Scroll down. Here you can notice I'm going to have this animation to these cards. Now, if you want, you can change the speed of this fade in left animation. That's upon you. And at the end, I'm going to add this animation to this ready area. So to this section right up here, I'm going to add here animate zoom in. Save the changes, and you can notice I'm going to have this effect, right? So that's super easy, right, to add animation to your website. Next, I'm going to show you how you can add particles to your website. Now, let me show you how you can add these beautiful particles behind this website. So to add that, I'm going to grab the code from the codepane.io website and create a CSS file. I already have the CSS file for this particle. I'm going to grab that file and put that inside my project. Don't worry, you can get that file from the link provided in the description. Just check out in particles branch. Just execute a command called get checkout particles. This command allows you to import and get the code from the particles file. Or you can say this command allows you to get the particles.css file. I'm going to import that file in the library folder. Just check in inside the particles branch and get this particle.css file. Now once you have this particle.css file, you need to link that file to your index. So in the header section, you need to specify here link tag and then specify here library and particle.css. Now let me save the changes. Just scroll down and in the main section, before this banner area right up here, you have to create a division tag with the ID particle container. Now you can specify any name to this ID. That's upon you. Inside this div, you will create another div with the class particle. Now make sure the name of this class is exactly same because we have this class name inside this particle.css file. If you change the name of this class name, you have to change this class name in the particle.css file as well. So I recommend you to use the same name to create these particles. Now what you want to repeat this division tag to create multiple particles. So you just have to duplicate this division tag, something like this. This will automatically going to create multiple particles inside your website. Just save the changes, back to the website, and as you can see, you're going to have your beautiful particles. And if you want to add more particles, just add more division tags here. You can do the same thing and add multiple division tags using JavaScript, but that will make this project more complex. So I'm going to use this simple technique to add particles inside this project. Now just out of that, what I want to add background image to this project, because you can see we have the blue color to this background. In the finished website, I have here background image. You can notice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open the style.css, open the global section, and just down here I'm going to add body, and to this body I'm going to first specify width, which is 100%, and background is going to be the URL, and in this URL I'm going to specify my asset folder and background png.png file. Then I'm going to specify here no repeat, and background size is going to be cover. Let me save these changes, and now you can see I'm going to have my background image. Now what I want, you can notice in the finished website I have some padding to this navigation. Let me add this padding to this navigation. So what I want, when the viewport is large, this one, I want to add padding to this navigation. So here I'm going to add padding left 6 rem and pass here important keyword. I'm going to add padding right as well. Padding right is going to be 6 rem and pass important keyword. That's it. Just like this. This will add left and right padding to this navigation menu, and this is only going to add padding when the viewport is large. Now at the end, let me show you how you can add this beautiful scrolling effect to this gradient section. So let's see how to add this beautiful effect to this website. Now let's take a look at how you can add this beautiful scrolling effect to this grid section. You can notice when I scroll down, the speed of these images are different. So to add this effect, I'm using a library called Relax.js. Using this library, you can add this beautiful scrolling effect to your website. You can notice here, you can see we can add this beautiful effect to this website. So to add this, you can use npm to install Relax, or you can simply use CDN. So what we are going to do is we are using CDN for that. So I'm going to search for Relax.js CDN, open the cdnjs.com website, and from here I'm going to copy the relax main.js, the script tag, and paste it just before the closing body, just before this main, right up here, just like this. Once I paste it, save the changes, back to the main.js, and here just after this onload function, after this function we're going to add this Relax.js code. Now because I want to execute this code before the onload event happen, that is why I put this code after this function. So just out of that, here I'm going to specify var relax is equal to new, then call relax, and in the parentheses you need to specify the name of the class, which is relax. You can specify any name to this class, that's upon you. And then you specify here comma and pass property, which is center true. This will just center the content. That's it. Only 3 lines of code will add this beautiful effect. So you have to save this file back to the index.html and scroll up. Now I want to add this effect to this digital life area section. So I'm going to open this digital life area section, this one, and right here I'm going to add that effect. So to specify this effect to this digital life area section, you have to simply specify a relax class to this division tag. Now you can notice I just specify relax class to this relax object. I'm going to use the same class to initialize this division tags. So we specify here first relax. So this is going to initialize and specify to this relax object. And this is going to inform this library that we need to add relax effect to this division tags. Now what I want to specify speed to this relax effect. So here I'm going to add the attribute called data relax speed. And you can specify here different values. Now you can find more about this data relax attribute from this relax.js website. Here you can notice you can find more about this data relax attribute from this website. This attribute is going to specify different speed to your relax element. So I'm going to specify here different speed to all these three division tags. So I'm going to specify here data attributes like this and pass different values here. Here I'm going to pass -1 and this became 1. Let me save this, back to my website, reload it, and now when I scroll down, you can see I'm going to have this beautiful scrolling effect, the delay scrolling effect to this images. Now if you want, you can add this effect to any of this section. So that's completely upon you. Let me show you how to add this effect to this card area. So let me just scroll down and open the card area section. And here I'm going to add this relax effect. So what we need to do is we need to first add here a class called relax like this, and then call the attribute data relax speed just like this. And then you have to specify here speed. I'm going to leave this speed as it is. Then I'm going to specify here relax again and specify here data relax speed -1. Do the same for this third card just like this, and to this fourth card. So I'm going to specify here relax, add this data relax speed which is 2, and then I'm going to specify here relax class, add the attribute with a different value, and don't forget to add relax class, because without this relax.js will not going to initialize your division tag. Let me save the changes, and now you can see I'm going to have this beautiful effect to this cards. You can see how easy it is to add this beautiful effect to your website. Now if you want, you can add this effect to different sections of your website. That's completely upon you. Now at the end, let me show you this website is responsive or not. So just click on the inspect tool, and as you can see, this website is completely responsive. You can see this website is completely responsive for all the devices. If you decrease the viewport, then you can notice this website is completely responsive for all the devices. Now, I hope you understand how to make this beautiful website really from the scratch. Now, here is the little exercise for you. You have to center this content when the viewport is small. And you also need to change the color of this title when the viewport is small. And when the viewport is large, you have to specify the default color to this title as well as the default alignment. So this is the simple exercise for you. Use media query to change the alignment and the color of this title. Now, I hope you understand how to make this beautiful website really from the scratch. If you find anything useful, don't forget to press the like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe for more latest videos. That is all for now. I will see you in the next one.